Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I do leaves on my trees. I actually made rain in this painting. I took very diluted gray watercolor and I started at the dark bottom part of the clouds and I went and made strokes, diagonal strokes down over top of what I'd already painted. So now it looks muted. It looks like it would look in rain, where you can tell that it's kind of blurred. And then I put a tree on this side with some smaller trees in the background that we're going to do leaves for. And I did the reflection from the little bit of sunlight that's peeking out from the right past these rain clouds, and then put an indication of the shadow of the tree and the water to give it more life to it. And I made some little stones. They're very easy to do. You just do it with a lighter shade of brown, let it dry, and then put in your shadows for where the stones meet. And then I did a big rock over here. And it's okay if the background bleeds through to it because it adds to the texture of the rock. As you can see the lines in there. So what I'm going to do now is show you how I do the leaves. You always want to do the leaves on the trees in the background first. And I made them short on purpose so you'll actually be able to see these trees leaves, and then see the leaves on this will be kind of sparse for this tree. This one's more full. You can see the tree in the back, which will have lighter leaves on it. And once this is dry, what I'll do is I will add little, and I've started doing some little tiny skinny branches within that leaf area. So we're going to do the leaves on these. I'm going to take, and remember you always start with your lightest color first. This is going to be basically springtime, so it's going to be different shades of green. And I've taken my number 6 round and I've loaded up with paint, but I'm only going to use the tip, and because I want these to show up, and I'm just going to do like dots on these all around the little branches that are back there that I did with just the point of the brush. And I've got this little puddle of this very light lime green, and I'm going to do those there. Now keep in mind this is going to dry lighter than what it shows here, so this may require for me, since I want those to really pop in the background, it may take a couple of coats, because I want these little dots of green leaves from the distance to show up. And on the 2 trees that are closer, what I will do is put an extra layer so they give that depth. But what's really going to give the depth for this painting is going to be this tree right here. So I still want light colored green for that one. And since it's a bigger tree, I'm going to take the 12 rounded, make sure that's good and wet, but not too wet. I dab it on my cloth there. And I'm going to take a light shade of green, because in the foreground it's going to be a little darker, but it's going to have some highlighting because of where the light source is coming from. And since the light source is coming from here, we're going to have just dots of green, this lighter green, and only above where I have the fork in the tree, because I want these little guys to show up. So this one's going to have leaves like up in the air here. I'm going to take some more of that medium spring green, I call it, to give it some light spots. Now if I want to add branches into this, I can, but it's not necessary to do. So this one's just going to have leaves in the top of it. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to clean out the lighter green. I don't want to cover up my light green. And I'm going to take the dark mossy green, I call it, or forest green, and I'm going to put it below those so that it looks like the light is hitting the top and not the underside. I have one spot there where I should have put some light green, but I can do that in a minute. And you do not want this to be too wet. If your paint seems to be really runny, don't go and pat some of it off. Don't wait until you get it onto your canvas to do that. And you can, I mean, this is just, I'm just tapping the point into it so that it looks like dots. Or, actually they're not dots, they're kind of disheveled dots. But with this, I've got where it's darker underneath is what you want. You want the lighter above, and you want that cloud back there to show through because it's raining in the background. So I could add another branch onto this if I wanted to add more leaf effect. Maybe have a branch come down like this, and I can do that with the brown that's here. I don't want to take away the white of my cloud in the background at all. So I've left it kind of like this. Once this dries, I'm cleaning off that dark green. And I'm going to put some of the really light lime kind of green. Just indications of it in here. Because that's where my light source is coming from. And leaving the white in there. Okay? So I've got the darker green, the medium green on the back side of it. And if I do another branch, which I could do that, these seem to be drying fine. So I'm going to go back to my small number 6. Make sure it's not too wet, but wet enough to pick up color to add to those. And I'm going to add a little darker green. It's not as dark as this, but it's a little darker for these 2 trees here in front of that third one in here. So I'm pulling, in doing that, I'm pulling them forward to give it more depth. So this is how I do my leaves in watercolor, not so much in acrylic or oil, but this is how I get my leaves to look. And then, excuse me, in the background, since it's going to be, the light's going to be hitting it a little bit, you want to give it a little bit of a grassy area, like green kind of grassy area. Towards, even with the rain clouds, there's some light hitting back there. And as you come forward, of course, it's going to get darker green. And then I can add some flowers in the foreground, since it is, you know, kind of a rainy look here. Just darken that up just a little bit. Just keeping it light. The darker portions are going to be the leaves for the flowers that I incorporate. I'm not sure if I want to add another branch on here or not. I'm contemplating it. I might. So that's how I do my trees. It's just dabbing the dots, not too much water, but enough paint.